Hello, Rhiannon.
Hello.
I am so thankful and so excited to have you here today. The last time we were sitting in a setting like this, it actually changed my life. So, since then, we have been on a bit of a journey together, and I have joined the Tantric Sexology Education. And without me knowing at the time, this was a big key to what I was missing from my own personal embodiment, my own teachings in all of the arenas that I teach. So I'm very excited to invite you here today.
Mm.
You are a big mentor to me. You have created the Human Evolutionary Academy, where you are teaching the next era of trauma-informed sexologists in the world. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me, and also feels to say thank you for your trust in yourself, in your pole, but also in the space and in the work.
Mhm.
Thank you.
It has really been such a deep journey for me to be on the Tantric Sexology Education, but I would love for this chat to start with your journey into this work and what called you into this space and how has that journey been for you?
Hmm. I mean, if I really go way back, Madeline, I remember as a child that I had so much questioning to things that I was presented with.
Mhm.
Like, why would we do like this? Why did I have to learn this? Why would we store food on cans? Like, as a child, I was just questioning everything. And I remember I had a lot of sadness also as a child towards leadership in the world and what I was seeing, how we were treating animals, how we were like, I was just this child, like, what the hell is going on? Um, and that seed of that voice in me, um, I believe has taken me on the journey that I have been going on. And in that, in my own journey, really working with how can I lead myself in a way that is deeply fucking fulfilling, that is deeply connected to my essence, my soul. How can I liberate myself from all constraints of conditionings from society, from my parents, all of that into creating and living a life that is so fucking true to me? How can I place myself on my deathbed and feel like I feel fulfilled in this lifetime? And that existential question and that inner child in me is what in a way has led me. And through that journey, I have gone on a very deep journey into the body, into the nervous system, into sexuality, because for me, that is existence. That is, we come in to this reality through the body of a woman. We are being created through sex, and
Mhm.
there is just so much there that has to do with embodiment, with leadership, and with how we then show up in the world, create and manifest and create our own unique path in this life, but also become a part of a macro
Mhm.
that is, coming, we all come from a mother, we all come from the womb. And what is the nervous system?
Mhm.
Creating what is the imprints creating and what world are we creating?
Yeah.
So for me, it's been like going fucking into my deepest voice and the deepest of existence and kind of working from there.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It touches me deeply when I hear you speak of those things, and I'm sure that there's so many people listening to this right now who just feels so seen by what you have just described, because I know that every single person called to this work have had this experience of looking at the world thinking this ain't it.
No.
And it is
Or it is, but it isn't.
yeah,
Right?
it's not how it's supposed to be.
Hmm.
And especially all that's really called to priestess work or to the work that you do, which in my opinion, it's the same thing. It's just we're just speaking to different people at different parts of their journey, but the work is so intertwined anyway. So this it's such a blessing and a curse to come into this world with the experience of kind of knowing a truth that
Hmm.
most people at least disconnect from to
Hmm.
some extent
Hmm.
this lifetime and learn how to shut down because it's so difficult to stay in the presence with
Hmm.
the inner knowing as a spirit, as a soul, which keeps saying some things need to change.
And if we just, I feel like if we just stay there for a moment with that existential question, like I can feel these dual parts in me that both is like that voice and this like that deep knowing
Yeah.
something else is possible for humanity, that I am here to really make a meaning and create a new lineage and a new ripple effect of a new era. And at the same time, I do also have a part in me that's like, I know how important it is for me as a human being to try to make sense of things.
Mm.
But if I try not to make sense of things and I just rest into meaninglessness and like maybe all is as it is supposed to be, maybe we are just biology
Yeah.
that is living and dying, and the universe is just whatever doing its thing, and that there is no real meaning. For me, there is also a practice in allowing myself to just see what happens when I rest into that piece.
Mm.
And like we can like expand that, and I know we're not to do that, but I think it's important because it is the undercurrent of the collective at the moment. It's like when things are happening as it is right now with the war consciousness that we are seeing expanding the leadership, we can fall into that feeling of like, fuck, what is the meaning of all this? It feels meaninglessness. There is no hope. I feel hopeless. And so I am such an advocate for us, especially also as women, to allow ourselves to fucking feel,
Yeah.
to not suppress anything basically, but to allow ourselves to marinate in what comes up for us.
Yeah.
And that is in a way a very deep piece to Tantra. It is to be able to sit with it and feel it and increase our capacity as leaders, as priestesses, whatever, to feel,
Yeah.
right?
I so agree. And that is one of the biggest gifts that this work has given me. I didn't see myself as someone who didn't feel, but I didn't feel to this depth that I feel now.
Hmm.
Had a very tantric experience yesterday, which wasn't like the beautiful pleasurable tantra, but it was the embodiment of the work that we do. So I had a challenging situation come up, and I went into the woods. I was gonna do some witchcraft to justice work, right? And I was sitting there just doing my candles, and my body went into a trauma release, and I started screaming. I started, you know how that looks like. But my body just went there automatically. The things that we have been practicing, doing all of these different practices to make the body go into that space by kind of manipulation. My body now goes there automatically because it has just become such a part of my being to process emotions.
Mhm.
And that made it possible for me to actually deal with the situation and find a solution to it yesterday, which would have not been possible a year ago.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. So I am curious. Now you are in the path of Tantra, and this is how you are making your changes in the world. But this Tantra education, I've heard you talk many times about how you downloaded and channeled this next step. How was your practice in Tantra the pathway into downloading that? And how was that experience for you to receive that knowledge? If
Mm.
if you can explain that, because I've
It's many big questions there, but and I just want to ask you, Madeline, when you ask this question, is it in, are we in the framework of manifestation, or where am I taking it?
Yeah, would love for us to take it into the framework of
Mhm,
manifestation,
mhm,
but I also feel like the manifestation part maybe comes at the edge of you telling that story because
mhm,
it's kind of like where do we go from the inception and then into bringing it into the world. So
mhm,
let's just start by how did it come in and
mhm.
what's the journey to get there?
So when you share, first of all, my that my kind of uh, access point is Tantra, I notice that in my truth,
Mm,
I there are things in the world, lineages that I deeply resonate with, and one of them being the Tantric lineage.
mm,
Um, and it's also not that simple. Like just to say that I feel also in the bloodline of being coming from the north, being like coming from Scandinavia, the whole my ancestral line of more Viking era
mm,
and shamanism and more like when I was a child, I was full into Norse mythology, and I have like Norse mythology tattoos and stuff. So that was for me, it's always been nature. It's always been like in a way earth biology, it's been body, it's been um yeah, animals, and that frequency of that more than I have been a yogic, you
yeah.
know, like so I just want to say that in tantric sexology, if we go there, we are bringing a new approach where we are combining many different lineages. So it being neuroscience, it being psychosomatics, it being psychotherapy, it being Eastern Tantra, it being Neurotantra, it being um, some sexology teaching. So we are saying in a way, and that feels very much like also my truth in a way that it's important that we now in the world, instead of saying this is the truth or this is the truth, that we see a holistic picture of wholeness and we figure out with all these different approaches, where is there a meeting point and how is that landing in my body? Um, I think that there is something dangerous, and I think we're also seeing that in the world with saying this is the only way, this is the right way. I think it's very important to be able to look at different approaches, find where is the meeting point, the holistic approach, and finding our truth,
Yeah.
right? And so that's really where my kind of the core is coming from.
Mhm.
And ah, and I think for me, when I started to go deeper and deeper into my body, into sexuality, and into de-armoring on a personal level, I had experiences on my own personal timeline where I was like, I cannot fucking believe that I haven't been taught this, that humanity doesn't know this, that like I felt like I had experiences through my body, through like Satori states, through de-armoring my body into what was kind of keys to humanity. Like that's literally, it feels big, but that was literally how I felt. And so, in a way, to speak more neuroscientifically, I was able to, through a lot of practices, rewire my neuroplasticity, my nervous system into a deep, deep, in a way, rest digest state, to rewire how I was operating in my nervous system through de-armoring, and especially when it came to de-armoring my pelvic floor. Um, I started to feel pleasure, feel orgasms that I have never heard about. Like, I started to, for the first time, feel that my soul and my essence was able to anchor down into my body. The little, if the energy was more hair, I feel a intuition, there is a thought, there is something true, maybe here in my heart, it was like woof, it fucking rooted down as just roots of a tree that was just rooting down all the way to the earth. And I could just feel like I fucking stand here and this is my fucking truth. This is deep, deep wisdom that I also know all women are connected to. And those experiences was like, I could finally fucking root into this planet. And I was like, I'm gonna speak up for this. I'm gonna stand for this. I'm gonna lead from this intelligence and this wisdom. And so that is the deepest point. And in a way, tantric sexology, that came in a night where I was sleeping, I was in full surrender in a way. And I woke up and it came like a download of consciousness asking me, do you want to create this? Like, do you want to use this framework to actually bring forward these teachings? And in that moment, I had to really feel into that because I already knew that if I say yes to this, this will have fucking consequences. I knew that it had to be a full yes or a full no. And the full yes would entitle that I had to leave my then back relationship. I had to move. I had to, yeah, just fucking allow myself to die, basically. Um, yeah, so I don't know if that was enough answer on those questions.
You like, can you
You're
have,
crying.
are you okay?
Yeah. So I would love to just also include you here, Madeline, and to just share what happens in you. What are you feeling as I'm speaking?
Well, what touches me a lot is that what you're sharing sounds very much like a personal experience that I'm going
Mhm.
through what I'm bringing into the world. And like one of the last pieces, my last yes to this, what I'm creating with the priestess education, um, it's been something that I've been working on for 5 years or more. Just the conception of it, all of the small pieces as to how it's going to look like. But it has always been like a thing that I will do at some point. At some point in time, I'm going to bring this into the world. And I was in Glastonbury and I was going through a womb healing, which also included some de-armoring. And that experience of your soul coming back into your body, and with her comes all of the things that you cannot unsee. That is exactly one-to-one an experience that I had,
Mhm.
of very clear message that this is not in a year, this is not in 2 years, it's right fucking now. So if you're going to do this, this is now.
Mhm.
And that full sadness and surrender that comes with understanding that your life purpose is bigger than anything else in your life in this lifetime. And it came with this message of like, yes, you can want love, yes, you can want partnership, but that must come second to everything else that you're doing right here. So this is why it's touching me so much, because I can hear your experience, and I can, of course it's not the same because we're in completely different parts of our lives, but I know what you mean so physically when you say that. So that's why it touches me so much, because it feels like ancestral wisdom in a way. And it also speaks to me again how this work that you were doing, that you're bringing into the world, that I'm starting to bring into the world as well, how these are really keys into helping soul merge with body in a way.
Mhm. And that's the thing, like, because first I just want to say, like, for me, in these like very intense experiences I've had, I've also a few times in my life been very close to death and had like big moments of expansion without actually sitting in a circle and creating it, but more like in real life. Um, and in that those moments, feeling nothing is more important than this. And then and then deciding, devoting myself to that path. And being, of course, I have also, been going with my ego sometimes and avoiding and been in fear, but really at my core, been fucking devoted. And that devotion has then attracted what I am sitting with today. So instead of seeking for
Yeah.
things that I'm longing for, it's more like, how can I fucking deepen into my truth and devote myself and then allow life to be magnetized towards me? And the issue I see for a lot of people is this gap between the purpose, which can feel very 5D, very like soul. It comes as a download and we get these messages, but then the gap to actually being able to manifest that into 3D, earth, density, matter, body, matter. And so that is where the piece around tantric sexology and de-armoring becomes really important, because if we have a lot of past matter, like dense matter in our fascia from
Yeah.
trauma, um, shock, stress, if we have a nervous system that is primarily primed to be in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, it becomes a big challenge to actually ground our purpose into this earth and into our lives and into manifesting things. Um, So that is really my what I see that I um like my zone of genius is in a way it is to help people embody so that they can take their leadership even deeper out and increase their capacity to actually manifest. So for all of you who are listening to this, I would so deeply recommend that you do have some embodiment practices to really work with the nervous system because that is really fucking key.
It is, and it is such a, I mean, we hear it a lot in the spiritual leadership community, and if people are not doing the practices and the right practices and really truly understanding what this means, they might think that embodiment work is dancing or like, and it can be, it's definitely a part of it, but it's so superficial layers and like doing your meditations and like coming back into your body. But if you have not done deep de-armoring and trauma work, you do not understand the language of which we're speaking, because it's almost like, yeah, dancing is human level, and then trauma work, the deeper layers, doing the grief work, the anger releases, those kind of, it really is roots into the earth that can help you ground and really solidify what you're here to do, in my opinion, or like from my perception.
Exactly, and that work creates the safety in our systems, the capacity to actually go out and go live on social media, to actually kind of, with all the things that comes up as we are leading ourselves, to be able to conduct and feel the shit that comes up and to move it because we will on this path we are meeting every single part of us that is a shadow, a trauma, something that is not fully capable to hold this entity that we are trying to manifest.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing like just these last 14 days, the amount of messages and things that I've been receiving with people in a process or things going on with students or in the team or other thing. Like it's a lot of stuff that comes when you are a leader. And it's so important in these moments to be able to recognize, okay, am I being triggered right now?
Mm.
And if I am, what is that about? And how can I take a breath, slow it down, and maybe wait with responding so that I'm not coming with a response because how I am leading is in a way affecting a whole field.
Yeah.
And so, and how am I responding when people are maybe projecting or when people are in a response myself? And so there is a lot there around increasing our capacity to actually deal with stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also on a deeper level, I would guess, like, because I'm sure that when you facilitate deeper programs that create a lot of transformation, it will trigger a lot of things in the people that are on that path. And if they have not done enough work with themselves, that trigger might make them project that it's your fault, you're wrong for triggering this uncomfortability in me. And so it's a lot of work to be able to be in that position and see the things that's happening and not go into the trigger yourself and be also activated, because it can be really hard to navigate other people out of that trigger if you yourself are getting triggered into your abandonment wounds and your rejection wounds and your witch wound and I'm wrong wounds and all that we carry with us, I'm sure.
Yeah. 100%. And that's why it's so important as a facilitator or someone who wants to lead other people in a group or whatever your purpose look like, that you like we have to do this work ourselves. We cannot overskip it, and that is also what makes people feel safe, that you can actually, they can feel it, not what you're saying, but they can feel your nervous system is like, come baby, just come with it. Like I'm standing here, you can just bring your stuff. Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
when you have now in a position, you have channeled a new big thing that is wanting to be birthed onto this world. How do we manifest? Like, how do we manifest through your perspective the biggest of visions? Like, if you're like, yes, I both want to channel this amazing thing that I want to bring into the world, but I also want people to be there. I also want people to buy it. And I also, on top of that, want a beautiful, abundant life and live humanly comfortable in this existence. What is Rhiannon's secret keys to manifest your soul path into clients, money, and abundance?
Mhm. So it actually starts with rewriting the sentence that you were saying with I want to how can I serve?
Yeah.
And before that, if before I go into that, I want to say that so even though I'm not fully like full in there with astrology and human design, like full nerd, I still, as much as I've explored it, I feel like there is so much truth in being true and knowing and understanding your unique constellation,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So we have to be careful, I feel, with these frameworks because it can also become a little bit like too much of a box, but
Absolutely. Uh,
but
I
yeah,
totally agree.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I'm so ready to like record a podcast episode just on the astrology bit of it because you know that I'm obsessed
Yes,
with that.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Let's
So
do that another time, but just very briefly, I want to say to people that I am a generator. I am sacral authority. I am 5'1".
hmm.
I have a lot of Scorpio in my sign. I have some Aries in my moon. I have Virgo in my ascendant. So all of this makes my way of manifesting unique. And I think for the listeners, it is important to know you have your constellation, right? And it how I am saying, how I'm doing it may not apply to you. So that's just a very important piece because when this download is coming to me, or a download is coming to me around a creation, I have to say yes or no. And then if I say yes, I am actually descending down into my sacral and I'm just feeling, okay, like it's like my mind is blank. I don't know what the fuck I am throwing myself into. But if I descend down to my sacral, okay, I'm like, what is my first impulse?
Yeah.
What is the first step? And then my practice is in a way to surrender to the unknown, but keep moving from that sacral knowing and following the entity. So let's say it's tantric sexology. It's almost like that has a frequency and an entity. So it's like you
My
fall.
God, Rhiannon, I'm just laughing because like so when I do business coaching and I do business programs, one of my processes is like channeling the offer and like really sitting with the energy of the offer and understanding what that wants because
Exactly.
it has it like you have your entity, your business has an entity, the offering has an entity, and you need to sit and weave the energy between all. I'm just like, yes, queen, you're speaking my
Yes,
language.
bitch.
Yes, I love it.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. Um, So that's where the piece comes in. If so there is nothing wrong with saying I would like to manifest la la la. There's
Mm.
nothing wrong with that, but it can so fucking easily become a trap.
Yes, I hear
So
you. I hear.
so what I do is I feel into the entity and I feel like what is the entity speaking? How can I serve that? What wants to be served to the people through that? And by listening to that, I'm in a way creating the masculine framework around her. So I say it's in a way a her.
you.
I'm creating that around her. And then in a way, that framework becomes the sales page or the da da da.
Yeah.
And then it's the her, the entity that's in a way the frequency of calling people into that is aligned with that entity.
Mm. Yes.
And then the next, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanna add a thing here because I go through this process and have just gone through this process. And since I have a partner in the priestess education, it becomes very much I have to draw her back into we don't have to be in the story of what it should cost from like this brainy perspective and where we think that the people need to come from and what we need to do. We just need to ask
Mhm.
and trust that the answer is the right answer for the people that are actually soul contracted to be there. Because if we do something else that's just so human based and on strategy, that is disconnected from the being, then there might be people that are a match to the real being of the offer, but won't resonate with it because we muddied it with our human and our thinking and not understanding because we don't have the master plan, but she does.
Yes. So I very much resonate with that. And I also feel like there is also some other layers there where so when the entity, the framework, and then I feel like there is something about also feeling into the collective, like what is moving in the collective.
Yes.
So let's say the I'm in through the entity, I'm speaking to a specific target group.
Mm.
What is it that is moving for that target group in the collective? What are their challenges right now? What are their maybe responses? What is it that I need to communicate to them, to speak to them? And if I, because I could also create the same offering and then speaking to a different target group,
Yeah.
because so if if I would do that, then I would need to feel into, so what's alive for them?
Yeah.
And maybe I need to work on my communication or my identity in order to communicate to their humanness,
Mm.
which in a way, in that type of business creation, it becomes a bit complicated, right? Because it's like stacking human layers and emotional things in order to tap into a specific part of the consciousness. So what I have found is I can do that, and I feel like my manifesting is even more simple if I just stay true to the entity and where the evolution of that entity is at, who is that naturally speaking to.
Yeah.
And then as I evolve on
Mm.
that path, I start to also shift my expression, and then I naturally see that I'm also starting to attract other things and different things because I am evolving. And that I find interesting. Like in terms, just if we look at like business marketing, that if we see ourselves as a piece of nature, and I just have to follow that natural evolution,
Mm.
of course, merging soul with body and all that. But if I just have to walk the path, and then through that, I will start to manifest more things, more opportunities, because I am evolving. And yes, there is something around identity and how we are taking care of ourselves, and that is being perceived, right? But I also feel like there is a deeper layer here, which is just truth,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So that was my words on that, I think.
Yeah, I love that.
I don't know how that lands on you, but
Yeah, it lands completely true. And I think that that's what differentiates the spiritual way of doing business. But what I also find is that when you stay really true to that approach, that is when quantum leaps, so to say, can happen, because it's almost like you are getting help from something outside of you because you are in service.
Mhm.
And in in a way, it's a harder way to get to that place. Like obviously we can just pull something from our heads, but then the process of selling it becomes harder because your heart is not in it in the same way. Whereas when you do business this way, you need to do all of the pre-work.
Mhm.
That's the hard work, but then the launching becomes really easy because
Mhm.
it is.
And yes, and it also depends on people's timelines, right? Because for some people, they maybe need to elevate into a new identity that is then kind of supporting the perception of your brand and who you are and blah blah blah. But if you are expanding into a frequency, like no, if you're expanding into an identity that is a frequency that you are trying to embody from a mind place, it's just a fucking shit show because you cannot hold that frequency in your body. So this is really important, and I know you also know this, like we like seeing things in the coaching world and stuff like that. It's just the embodiment piece around this and the realness of what you are holding is just really, really important.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, Rhiannon, because I think that we have mentioned about this in the Tantric Sexology Education, but we haven't like really fully gone into it. What is sex magic? And can you use like the tantric approach to like manifest things? Is there like a ritual? Is
Mhm.
there some juicy things that we can do? Is that something that
Absolutely.
you want to share with us?
Yes. Like so here comes my nerdy science diva because if our brain is in a fight, flight, freeze, fawn stress response, the brain goes into a narrow focus and it goes into a survival mode. And that survival mode is our incredible biology that is trying to protect us and help us in order to survive. So when we are in that state, we are limited in our, you can say, consciousness or in our ability to actually be open towards life. We are also in a frequency that says survival. So the one of the main things here is with tantric sexology is that we are working with bringing the neuroplasticity, the nervous system into moving out of those responses and into a deep sense of safety, and through that safety, opening to more felt pleasure and life force in the body. And through that, our brain starts to shift into other modes, you can say, where we all of us starting to open. So the consciousness can open, more creativity comes in, more intuition can become alive. Um, and all this is also backed up by science. Now I'm just not going into the full nerdy details. Some scientists have also recently come out with a study around flow state and bringing the mind into a flow state and how we can do that. But all of this is in a way the foundation for us opening and expanding to consciousness, to feel life, to be a co-creator with life. And then let's say you are in a sexual moment, for example. It doesn't have to be sexual, but if you are in a sexual moment and you, for example, through a prayer or through an intention setting, set an intention as you start to dive in. Maybe, let's say you are receiving penetration in that state, and you are allowing that intention, that prayer to just move through you, and you are opening, 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 and you are voicing, you're using your voice, you're using your sound, you're using your breath, you're using your movement, your body, and your neurotransmitters starts to expand. And in a way, it's not something we can create. It's an embodiment of reality and being with what is that can take us into these states. And then through that, um, our intentions, our prayers, something very interesting starts to happen. And I have experienced this many, many times that without actually doing a lot,
Yeah.
things starts to just happen. And this was back in the days, this was also my big breakthrough because from my mother, I have inherited a very strong fight flight in her nervous system. So when I was in the womb, there was a lot of stress. And that stress was like an undercurrent in my life to push through. And that undercurrent in the nervous system, until I changed this in my body and in how I was also using my sexual energy, my manifestation, I was like, I had to do every fucking thing myself. I had to push through. I had to. So when I shifted that, every fucking thing became so much more easy.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, and I also find it very not interesting, but makes a lot of sense that I had my huge breakthrough in my business when I was in a very safe container where we were exploring our sexualities a lot. We were doing a lot of, etching work, and like we were really getting deep with each other. And I was finding parts of myself and taking leadership for my own sexuality in a way that I hadn't done ever before. And I I think that, like my nervous system is still not great. I still have a lot of backlog of rebalancing after my chronic fatigue, and I can still feel that. So I'm very much, enjoying having all of these practices that is learning to help me coming back to rest and digest.
Mhm.
And I think what I said during the last round of tantric sexology is like, it is so magical to see how my nervous system is able to calm down so much quicker when we're doing these practices.
Yeah, and you had some manifesting going on, right? Like right after you had like instant shift there.
Yeah, I did.
Hmm.
And have continuously had that, like that wave that I started there. But we've been doing this work for some time together now.
Hmm.
But I think that it was also important that one of the like key core themes of that round, the last round that we were there, was leadership and your own leadership.
Hmm.
And it was beautiful for me that we had our altar.
Hmm.
This round in particular felt very spiritual to me because like it's also paralleling the work that I do with the priestess work. um I don't know if you have more things that you want to add on to the practice that you were sharing about before.
No, I just notice when we're speaking about this that there is a part of me that doesn't want to be perceived too fluffy or too spiritual.
Yeah.
Because a lot of this work for me is not in a way, and it is. It's like it's this there I know there is just in the collective field there is a lot of
Mhm.
perceivedness around this type of work that becomes a little bit like
Mhm.
fluff, and I'm just uh yeah, it's like I there is a longing in me to I guess what I'm trying to say is that I have throughout the years also seen a lot of spiritual bypassing, and I'm just such an advocate for us to bring the body into it and the actual science of it, because it is it is in a way science, and it is the natural laws of the universe. It's not like a fucking hocus pocus show, you know? It's like it's 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 deep work in that sense. So yeah, I don't know why I'm sharing this. I'm just sharing what came for me. And yes, this module we was just went through, it has a lot of spiritual components into it because it is merging spirit into the body and practices around um, that union, you could say.
I really think that that's an important key, and it also makes me want to speak into something,
Yes, do that.
which is I feel like this nature of the fluff or the spirituality, in my opinion, is the wisdom of the feminine.
Mhm.
It is the knowing that doesn't need the perfect words. And sometimes my personal opinion is that when we try to sciencefy, make everything science and try and explain everything by science, is kind of neglecting the power of the feminine. And we are trying to take the qualities of patriarchy and saying that it is only valuable if we can stand up and measure up to all of these things. So while I do understand it is an important part of us merging into society to be able to express ourselves through the science and explain why things are the way that they are, sometimes I also feel like we also need to value the power of spirituality that cannot be explained.
Mhm. Oh, I love this, Madeline. Yes, 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 yes. I fucking agree with you. And this is where we come into, I feel, the shadow aspects of the science, the shadow aspects of the spiritual world.
Because there is a lot of fluff that is
And
based
and
not what.
both of them have through many. the communities lacking the body piece, right? The embodied experience, the embodied knowing, where we fucking just fucking know in ourselves. We don't have to explain it. We don't have to put words on it. We just fucking know. And so I think that is our meeting point. We are trying to both say there has been a shadow aspect in both. The body is so important. You fucking know. You don't need this. You don't need spiritual fluff. The science you need to fucking feel and experience with your body. Yeah. Hallelujah.
Yeah, amen, sis. So I want to move towards the completion of this episode, but I do want to share a moment with the audience. This is something I've talked to my clients about, and you know how much that moment felt for me because I've told you was in the last round of the Tantric Sexology Education where we did like a manifestate, not a manifestation practice, but we showed our leadership.
Mhm.
And everyone was given a moment in time where they could go onto a, a heightened place and share their leadership with the group, however that looked like. And it looked in many different ways. And so for me, I went up there and I did a piece of singing, which is a part of my leadership, which is also a part of our Nordic lineage and a way that we would connect to spirit, which for me was scary as hell. I was shaking. And it was so beautiful because it is something that I have dreamed about doing and knew that I am a part of bringing into the world, like this specific way of connecting to God, goddess. Um, so that was very beautiful for me to get to have this space where I get to practice this, and I did my singing and everyone was singing with me, and it was really,
So beautiful.
yeah. How was that for you? Like, because it felt like that was a very odd one out from what everyone else was doing.
Like when you were standing there, how that felt?
Yeah.
Oh my God, Madeline. I feel like I was longing. I was longing to feel you there. I was longing to, like, I almost next time I want to have you sing again. Like, I want to feel you there because there is so much fucking power and transmission when you are singing. Like wow. So it's almost like you were affecting the field by stepping into that frequency in yourself. And I love to feel that part of you. I love to feel that leadership in you. So
And and I felt that way with everyone that stood up there and shared their leadership. Like it got really intense to see how everyone was expressing their leadership, and it was deeply touching. And I then you had a little moment afterwards and everyone could see how touched you felt, and for me, how I saw it and how I felt it was kind of like this moment that you had in your mind when you were manifesting this.
Mhm.
What was going on for you there? Because you really felt it so much, and to see you express that in that moment was just so beautiful.
It actually it ties into what I started by sharing in this podcast, which is the wisdom of my inner child. It was just such a moment for her in a way to manifest leaders that I want to see in the world. And it heals parts of me. It heals it my inner child becomes fucking happy by helping people that has so much wisdom and so much so many gifts to step forward from this place that is not conditioned, that is not from trauma, that is not that is pure essence and power and intelligence been beyond what we have been taught. And yeah, personally, I'm just so fucking longing for the world to be there, to see world leaders come into rest and just let's talk about it and let's just all relax. We have our land, we have our ground.
Yeah.
Let's put people into their power. Uh, let's create something beautiful that is not from fear, but from self-leadership and love. And it just cracks me. It fucking cracked me to my core to see you guys and for us to create that field together where it became so raw and embodied and truthful and everyone supporting everyone and to just be in their power. And I'm just like, that's all I want. I can die now. Yeah.
I completely understand
Mhm.
because those are like the types of like if I can get to experience that in my lifetime to see people transform in that way, I will die a very happy woman knowing that I did my thing. And to get to experience that just as a bystander, but like really knowing, I feel like I know that meaning of like I feel like a longing when I see that because I believe that I'm meant to do those kind of things, and I believe that we are all meant to, like everyone that is on that education is meant to do those things. um but yes, like I think I said it in our sharing circle afterwards that what I wanted to say in that moment was like, there's no fucking way they can't hear us now. And there's no fucking way that the world is not changing with this deep work that we're doing. I just do not believe that like I really see how this is a wave and it's just building momentum. We
Mm.
can see how spirituality is so much deeper ingrained in not in society, the general society, but there's more and more people coming here.
Mhm.
It's my experience, but you have been in the space for longer. But
No, and I see the ripples. I really do see the ripples. And there is always this feminine longing for more,
yeah.
right?
Yes.
So, yeah, I guess I can die satisfied and fulfilled.
Oh.
And I want more, 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 more. Open me more. Yes,
Yes.
more,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So, yeah.
I love that,
I
Rihanna.
really, really enjoyed this conversation with you, Madeline, I have to say. And yeah, thank you for having me
Yeah.
and for sharing about this work beyond your own self. I feel like you are also tapping into something bigger than you and me that that is really beautiful to feel. So, yeah, just want you to know that I see that.
Thank you so much, Rhiannon. And I will, of course, share all of the information on how to connect with Rhiannon in the show notes and what she has going on. Do you have anything you want to plug now we're on the call?
No, I actually don't want to do any of that. I want people to just feel what they're feeling and come if they come. And if they don't, I want to just wish them all the best.
And so we do. Thank you so much for this call, Rhiannon. Thank you.